All right, good evening. It is 7 o'clock on August 11, 2026, and the regular meeting of the West Valley School Board of Directors is now called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I don't believe there's any changes to the agenda.
No changes?
I'm going to make a motion to excuse both James Kephart and Joel Heed. James is in vacation and Joel is just called in sick, so we wish him the best. Communications?
The responsive public comment. Oh, we did a vote.
We didn't vote on.
No, I'm sorry. Come on, they're just gone. I'll make a motion to excuse both James and Joel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed by the same sign. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Okay, communications
The responsive public comment is there as a placeholder.
and presentation.
All right, this is our data summit. Instead of doing it as a study session, we decided to have this be part of the regular board meeting as requested by the school board. And we're going to just give highlights. We have quite a packet. And so the board asked for the highlights and also, as much as possible, look at longitudinal data. So why don't we go ahead and have the board join the audience so that you can see the data. All right, we'll start off with our Assistant Superintendent, Stacy Drake.
Hello. Okay, as usual, we're starting with the Walk Kids assessment. Remember, this is the assessment that's given to kindergartners at the beginning of the school year, and it really we use it as an assessment of our early learning efforts, how we're connecting with the community and supporting our community partners. You saw this data before because obviously it's last fall's data. Remember that the lowest area is social emotional. The early learning is divided into 6 domains, and social emotional is the lowest, which really matches the national research after COVID, just showing that we're experiencing right now kids who were babies or about to be born during the shutdown, which had an impact with all those caregivers wearing masks or not being able to go out of the house or just stress. We're seeing a lot less kids that are able to regulate their emotions. So we're working with that. And also it is impacting speech, which when we're talking about birth to 5 kids, impacts behavior because they can't tell you their needs. So that is the Walk Kids data. The kindergarten reading spring scores, we always look at those also as a measure of our early learning efforts. So like by the spring, how did we do getting our kindergarten kids on benchmark for reading at grade level? So you have to turn your head sideways for this. But we were pretty happy with this assessment. We have a school that's at 91%. The average is 87.
That was 3 years ago.
Oh.
Yes, it's spring 2024.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, we were trying to include longitudinal data as much as possible.
Longitudinal, okay, sorry. So here is this spring.
It looks better.
So it looks better. The green is taller, looking at it sideways. So remember that, according to our strategic plan, we really want every grade level to have 90% of its students on grade level. So we're happy with this. Also, I think the change back from a couple of years ago is that starting last school year and 2 years ago and this last school year we just had, we started including all of our children on those kindergarten scores. So even students who were in our self-contained special ed classroom are in the gen ed roster. And so when we look at historical data, it's important to remember that this includes all of our students because they're all general ed students first. So a variety of skills there. And then we're going to look at the iReady data in reading and math. This is some longitudinal data. Remember, we're really shooting for 90% on grade level. This is reading. On the iReady, we take the iReady in fall, winter, and spring. It is meant to be an assessment, more of a formative assessment that helps teachers look at what skills kids are missing and redo small groups. But we also can use it in more of a summative measure when we look at the spring scores because it very closely aligns with our state assessment. And iReady is the most popular benchmark assessment given in the nation. So that's how they've been able to look at the data nationwide for the number of iReady districts that use iReady, and then how those same students perform on the Smarter Balanced assessment. So we use it both ways.
If I can jump in, the Smarter Balance assessment is also given in the spring, but the state has not finalized the results. So we'll be sharing that in our next data summit in the fall. But the iReady does have a close correlation, so it is predictive of the Smarter Balance.
Yes, so on the top we have reading, and then on the bottom we have math for our elementary schools. And then here's middle level campus and the Innovation Center. So something that I'm looking at here is really just grades 4 and 5, particularly in math. I'm just learning from this data this summer, looking through it, that we really just need more support in 5th grade. Feels like we're not doing the mid-level campus any favors. It is true that any data, like the holes get bigger, right? It's harder at kinder and 1st grade to be 2 or 3 years behind. And so it's easier in a sense for kids to get closer to grade level or be on grade level, and then those gaps can just widen. But that's not an excuse. We need to fill the gaps. We need to do everything we can. So we'll be looking this school year at some training days, possibly for the 5th grade, using the ESD as a resource, getting subs to work on 5th grade staff. Okay, so then these are the measures that you've seen before for the iReady. This one is reading. It's the spring. It's the percentage of students that tested on grade level. That would be the tier 1, and then tier 2 is the yellow, which is 2 years behind, and then the red is 3 or more years behind. So you can see how that gap widens. This is district-wide. There's 7th and 8th grade that just isn't fit on that page. And then this is by school. And this is kindergarten through 8th grade. We give the iReady. And then each school is in there. You can see each school when you look through and each grade level. This is data that I put in the principals folder that they'll be receiving on Thursday. We talk about it in the first meeting. I have a data meeting with each principal at the beginning of the school year, but we're also including it as part of our leadership institute on Thursday, because we just really want to generate a sense of urgency towards teacher clarity and some of the initiatives that we're doing that align with the strategic plan. So you can look through and see each elementary school, mid-level campus, and the Innovation Center there. And then this data measures fall. It's actually spring to fall. I tried to get fall first so it would make sense, but they won't do it that way. So the fall is kind of the shaded. So you can see what growth happened in each grade level from the fall to the spring in reading. And then also remember, these are the growth goals that iReady assigns each student based on the number of points they earn when they come in. And what we look at really here is that percent met column of the annual typical growth, which is the left side, that second over column. We want 70, 80, 90% of the students to meet their annual typical growth, which is norm across the country. So we look at this way. Principals look at it by teacher to determine who might need extra support. for this coming year, and then it's by school. So these are all the elementary schools, mid-level campus, and the Innovation Center. And then we have the same thing for math. Again, math is going to be, this is our review year, this school year for math. We'll be reviewing new curriculum. Many teachers are excited about that. They're tired of the old curriculum and the holes that are perceived that it doesn't fill. And so we'll be working on that. And then in May, we'll have the Instructional Materials Committee suggest a new math curriculum for K-8 plus high school, like the readiness. Remember, we did the geometry and the algebra, but there's some other math that they will need. So this will be a big year for us for that. And we're looking forward to that too at the district level, because it's very hard to make sure that teachers are teaching a curriculum that they hate. So once we can get a better curriculum in place and make sure that there's equity across the district of everybody teaching the guaranteed viable curriculum that aligns with our standards, that'll make us feel much better. So these are the same. We're looking at the percentage of students that are on grade level. And then the growth, again, from fall to spring by grade level, and then the growth goals, annual typical growth or stretch growth, but we really look at that annual typical growth by grade level. And then by school. So is there any, I think that's it for me. Oh, and then this is by classroom. You have it here publicly with A, B, and C, but we have a secret code. So we use this to look at teachers and especially let the trend and who needs extra support. We're going to do a more targeted attempt this year to align our instructional coaching with this data. So in the past years, it's been a little loose, but this paper with teachers' names on it will be in each principal's folder, although they know it. It's just nice for them to see it all in one page. And then the instructional coach will do our training on Thursday when we talk about teacher clarity, just to make sure that we're all shooting all of our arrows in the same direction, and that instructional coaching can start right away with the principal creating the urgency around teachers that in reading and math that may just be needing extra support based on the student data. That's it for me. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, probably overall on all this data, you've sort of mentioned a couple of things, but what, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but what 2 or 3 things stand out to you that, wow, we've really done well with this compared to last year? And maybe what 2 or 3 things, I think you'll talk about iReady stuff, is like, what can we do better? I mean, I think that you've already said that as far as,
yes,
anyway.
I think kinder in first grade. Last year at this time, we saw kind of a dip in first grade, and we were curious about it, like where did that come from? And it seems like they've made up for that, and we don't have it again this year in first grade. So the second grade teams made up for that. There's some 4th grade high scores and some 3rd grade high scores that were impressive. And then I think the challenges, which maybe you were going to ask me next, is really what I talked about. Just 5th grade, it's just a tricky year anyway, and then we've just got a lot of new teachers, and I don't think we've given them enough support. I always just think of it as like, what can we do as the district? What can I do better?
Do you ever look at, it's a way to put it, cohorts? I mean, as far as,
Yes.
because we're looking at grades, right? 4th, 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 but you almost need to look at 3rd, 4th, 5th.
I do look at that.
I don't know if there's any way to
And
show.
that's almost putting the onus, trying not to say fault,
Yeah, no,
on
it's
the
fine.
students. right?
Yeah,
So cohorts is about students,
Yeah.
but trends with instruction, we can control by adding support.
I
Yes,
see what
we
you're saying,
absolutely
yeah.
look at which students need support in
Mhm.
classrooms every fall, once we get the fall data in, so we're already doing interventions with those students.
Yeah.
And I do follow it just to see if there's anything that stands out. But I do hear sometimes from principals and teachers like, well, that was that class. Remember, Stacey, you remember that class when you were in first grade? And it's like, okay, but that's not something we can control.
Yeah.
Right? We can control instruction, the curriculum, the way we teach, the classroom, the daily schedule, all of those things. So those are some of the things that we look at.
I think we've talked about this before, but I don't remember if we ended up anywhere with it. Have we ever tried to look at, because I know sometimes we'll do comparative data to Washington State, right? We'll look at, and sometimes I don't like that much because I want to do what we want to do, right? I want to be at our percentage. But have we ever been able to look at other schools that are, and we go to, you guys go to conferences and do stuff and bring home good ideas, but I'm thinking, what about some of these schools that their data tends to be trending higher, and can we learn something from them that maybe we don't know? What are they
Yes,
doing?
in past years, we have not had, that's what the iReady team at the state level can give us that data, and they just haven't this year. We're hoping to get back into that next year where I can show you nationally and statewide where we are. As far as following what another school has done, yes, we would consider that, but it's really about our staff and our students. We look at that, of course, when we look at new curriculum, and we call the same, we look at the ed report, which grades new curriculum. And so we make sure we have a top-notch curriculum that we're looking at, and we do call other districts that are using it before we recommend it.
Okay, yeah.
And so yes and no.
I'm assuming some of the conferences you go to also give you technique from other, you're learning from
Yes,
each
and
other, right?
what we've learned over the years is we have a lot of expertise right here. So
Yeah.
that's where looking at that, district-wide iReady, and when you find a teacher that has probably similar demographics in one school to another in the same grade level, we say, what is she doing that this one can learn from, and can we get her over there?
Yeah, good point.
And so oftentimes we have enough support right here that we don't need to send people away.
Yeah.
We just need to build up our team.
That's good, thank you.
I would say our work in multi-tier systems of support has also been informed by best practices in other districts. And also our work in inclusion, making sure that students are served in the least restrictive environments, and having the supports to have students be successful in those areas. So I'd say that's been informed. Something else that Stacey had shared with me that she's working with principals is that it really jumped out that some classrooms that had long-term subs, we really saw a dip in those classrooms. And so having the principal be the gatekeeper on who the sub is going to be, that's going to be something new this upcoming year. So we make sure that we, as much as possible, have seamless instruction for all kids.
Thank you, good insights, appreciate that.
That was my big question. We, obviously some of the nearby districts have, their studies have gotten out or the public has seen them. Have you guys, been able to see any of those, or do you have friends in the other districts that can show you kind of how West Valley's stacking up against the other districts?
According to iReady?
Yeah.
We probably could. Again, that would be the state data.
The
that
state
we
would have
get
to give it
from
to you.
iReady as
Yeah.
well, which hopefully we'll have this year. The demographics are so different.
Like from Natchez to West Valley?
In the valley. That gets tricky.
Okay. What's different?
And even so, when we did last year and the year before, have iReady tell us where we were in the state, we were always at the top.
Okay,
In fact, they would struggle to find things that we weren't doing well. They would nitpick us on the fact that our kids are taking the test too fast.
got it. Yeah, when I look at, a lot of those scores are super impressive when I was looking through them, but a few of them, to see the red, yellow, and green all be even, I'm like, so you're telling me that there's just as many kids that are 3 years behind as there are.
And that would be as they get older, because
Yeah,
those
that's
gaps
concerning.
grow.
Yeah.
Yes, we are looking at that. We're looking at, we've had some staffing changes at the Innovation Center, so
Uh-huh.
that's a concern. We're adding extra coaching support there.
Yeah.
In a very creative way, without adding staff.
Yeah.
And at the mid-level, again, we've done more PD work this summer, and we're really gonna work on 5th grade. Like, it just occurred to me probably a year ago, like,
Yeah.
we're just not really doing them any favors when we're handing them so many kids behind, but we have so many new 5th grade
Sure.
teachers, right? When we moved from K4 to K5, and the 5th grade teachers had to come from the middle school and be dispersed, and they were so used to working together, they all wanted to stay at the middle school, and we ended up hiring these brand new teachers, and some of them didn't make it.
Yeah.
Some of them we said,
I get it.
and then, other ones moved on to other jobs because it was their foot in the door. 5th grade's a challenge. There's lots.
So I'm
Things
sure
happen.
you've heard, and I'm sure there's a better way for me to ask about this, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. Have we thought about, as a district, making a no cell phone policy, like what Sela introduced?
Yeah.
We do have,
I would basically have that during instruction time.
yes.
So,
Each school has a different one,
uh-huh,
which I think was at the board a couple months
Yeah, actually,
ago, but
it's a line now, so.
Oh, okay, but it's, during instruction, no cell phones. And
So
like
how-
at mid-level campus, not at all.
and you guys can inform me later, it's totally fine, sidebar, but, how, so there are no phones during the school day at all in West Valley schools?
No, during instruction time. So at the high school, like at lunchtime, they could have their cell phone.
So how do they check it in and check it out?
The teachers are having a designated area in the classroom.
Got it.
But that's new this year, at the high school.
Okay,
This year.
This
They
year,
just-
that's fine.
They just
Okay.
made that policy.
Some of them
Okay.
have like those shoe pocket things
Yeah,
to
yeah.
put them in, and they're numbered, and
Yeah.
other ones they have different.
I just saw a study from Norway and it was really interesting, the anti-cell phone policies and the correlation to the test scores. So that made me think about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just had some comments,
Oh,
but
sure.
I can save it for when you guys are both done. if you want.
All right, so now we'll move on to secondary schools and post-secondary. So we'll look at the high school graduation rate. So this is really encouraging that class of 2025 is the most recent data we have from the OSBI website. And that's the highest graduation rate at West Valley High School that's been recorded since the class of 2018. So we're at 91% meeting standard. And the increase can really be attributed to the success of our Hispanic students. So you can look back in 2018, I believe it was, from back in the past, we were right at the state average. It was 75% graduation rate, and now it's up to 89%. So a great increase in our Hispanic student success. Here's the state information. So state is at 83%, and state moved Hispanic students from 75% graduation to 77%. So just a 2 percentage point over those 10 years, and or whatever and so basically West Valley moving from 75 the average to 89% is a real success. So really excited about that. And then also I'll jump. So the 9th grade on track for graduation, that hasn't been released yet. So this is data that you've seen already. Student demographic data, this is what I was going to share, that our Hispanic population has gone from 31% of our student population to 43% of our student population. So we've had an increase in Hispanic students and an increase in their success rate. So lots to celebrate when we look at our graduation rate. Student attendance data is right at the state average. So 73% of students are not chronically absent, and the state has 73% as well. So we'd like to be better than the state, but we're currently at the state average. Discipline data, we actually have a little bit higher. The first slide there is the state is at 3.7% of students in the 24-25 school year were suspended or expelled. West Valley was 4.8%, so that's a little bit higher than the state. And we just want to keep an eye on that and make sure that we're not having disproportionate discipline. And then that's teacher and student demographics. We've shared that before. The least restrictive environment, we've shared that before. The FAFSA, the Federal Application for Federal Student Aid, that's updated information just as of last week. And so we've really plateaued For the class 2026, it's at now 52% of students have completed the FAFSA form, and that's the same. We've really been at a plateau for quite a while. Our improvement plan there is we have partnered with the Yakima Valley Partners for Education for the last couple of years, and they have a small grant that they're going to be able to flow through some money to West Valley. The grant comes from the Washington Student Achievement Council, and so our plan is to start earlier. In the past, we've started after the first of the year and have the financial aid nights and such, and so we've learned as being part of this partnership that it's important to start earlier. So the financial aid nights will start in October, and we also have learned that having student ambassadors, peer-to-peer, is a good thing, and students listen to their peers. So we'll have student ambassadors during the lunchtime here at the high school and the Innovation Center. So we'll have first lunch, second lunch, student ambassadors. They'll have a table set up and they'll be promoting the FAFSA completion. And so we want to promote not only the FAFSA completion, but also the WOG grant opportunities, because Washington State has great financial aid opportunities for students, but they have to complete the FAFSA in order to be eligible for that. Next up is the military service, the class of 2026. So I always appreciate Colonel James providing this information to us. Again, this year we just have so many students going on for additional training through the military, and also scholarships available through the military. So that's through the National Guards. So you can see we have information there in the packet about students going to the U.S. Army, students going to Oregon National Guard. You can see some of the total education package, $130,000 for that student. $296,000. I'll give shout out to names. Cadence Bolo Cortez is getting $130,000 package. Kira Mullen, $296,000 package. Jessica Pareda, $320,000 plus package. Kevin Shively, $136,000 package. So just some outstanding achievement here for our students as they graduate. Washington National Guard, Zachary Birch, Grace Johnson, Connor Sybers, U.S. Navy, and U.S. Marines, U.S. Coast Guard, and U.S. Air Force. So our JROTC program is really thriving here in West Valley. Really proud to share that information with you. Previous year, we did have someone going to the Space Force, so you can see just great achievement across the board there. Next up, we have our apprenticeship and work-based learning information. So during the past year, in the previous years, we've had registered apprenticeship. The Aerospace Joint Apprenticeship Committee is the intermediary that has helped to set up those internship placements. And during the past year, they had budget cuts. The state has been cutting not just education, but other entities as well. And so last year, we decided to continue to have apprenticeship opportunities, but we're really calling it pre-apprenticeship program. And so these students were able to have training in the classroom, have work, go and job shadows and that type of thing. And some of them were able to work after school at the companies. And so we still had students getting work-based learning experience, but it just wasn't the registered apprenticeship. So you can see the students that completed the pre-apprenticeship program there. We also had students that were able to earn elective credit for paid work experience. We continue to have the PACE program with transition to independent living. We appreciate our community partners at Ray's, Stein's Hardware, and Summit Thrift that place students. And then finally, we continued our partnership with companies that had done the registered apprenticeship in the past. So that partnership with Magic Metals, Cup Crafters, and Pexco continued that partnership, and those businesses interviewed our graduates and hired recent graduates. So we still have that pipeline going, just not with the registered apprenticeship. But really appreciate our community partners, Magic Metals, Cup Crafters, and Pexco Aerospace, and especially Cup Crafters being on campus and helping with the students that were building the airplane. And I think it was really great mentorship by the Cup Crafter staff, and then our students really impressing them, and then Cup Crafters wanting to hire them. So that was a real success. Now we look at the information about postgraduates or post high school. And so we'll start off with West Valley. Here on this page 124, you can see that if you add the 4-year and the 2-year together, that's a 54% of students. And this is actually the class of 2024, even though it says 25, I double checked. And it is the class of 24 data. And so for the past 24, we had 54% of our students go on to post-secondary education through a 4-year or 2-year or CTE, or community technical college, a CTC. So that's 54%. The state average was 53%. So we're, right at the state average, basically. The interesting thing, and I'll continue in order. Here on page 126, on the lower right-hand side, you can see that of our students who went to college, Yakima Valley College had the most students, and then next was Central Washington University. So we really increased our partnership with Central through college and high school, and having guaranteed admission. So lots of good things happening for kids through our partnership with Central. The information I was going to share then next, so we're at 54% of students going to college, right around the state number of 53%. And then on next, so this is same information. What institution they went to? Just want to jump to page 136. So this is college completion. So we had 54 going to college, the state had 53. And then college completion within 6 years, if you add those numbers together, the 34 plus 15, that's 49% college completion. So about 54% of our students going to college and 49% college completion. It's really outstanding, actually. If you look at the state average, that's the 29 plus the 11, that's 40%. So the state goes from around 53% to only 40% completion. West Valley, 54% going to college with 49% completion. So a real difference between the state average there and students actually persisting and completing their college degree. So that's something to celebrate as well. And then finally, we have the data here from West Valley students and the data from the state. And this basically just shows that post-secondary education does pay off. Students that have a bachelor's degree do have a higher wage than students that do not have a bachelor's degree. And so it does, there is a great investment there. Post-secondary in general, people that are students that have post-secondary education have higher wages. And at the state level, there's enough in there to look at the apprenticeship. And so that's the green line, actually. So the apprenticeship actually has higher wages than a bachelor's degree. And so that kind of also reinforces the importance of our work in current technical education, because students that go on and are able to do an apprenticeship training program are also able to have high skills, high wages. And so that really reinforces what we're doing with current technical education as well. All right, and that gets us to the end of the data packet. We're certainly open for more questions.
Let's go back.
All right, sure.
Here in front of me.
Now, do you want to start off?
Sure. So, back on Stacy's data, and Stacy called this out, but the Innovation Center numbers are really low. And so I just wanted to call that out, it's important to get those up, because we don't want it to be an alternative school, right? We want those kids to be really strong in math, especially because if they're going to go into different, technical fields, they really need math. So I just wanted to call that out as being important, because I know some of their classes aren't structured the same as like a math class. So just need to make sure we get, I know you mentioned it, but I just wanted to call that out.
No, it's good. I
And then
appreciate it.
the other thing, I was looking at the number of, as they get to 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, the number of kids that are behind. I always think, and I talked to you guys about this, but I always think about all the kids that are the high achievers, or the kids that are on grade level. And it's an almost impossible task for the teachers, right? Because you have kids like 5 grade levels in one class. But I just want to encourage us to, obviously we need to make everybody get to grade level, but also think about all the kids that are already at grade level and are bored, right? Because they have to hear the same lesson 10 times and they got it the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about our highly capable kids, I'm talking about like just the kids that are on grade level or a little bit ahead, right? Because those are the kids, when we look at like the scores about, am I interested in coming to school? Am I learning anything? Those are the kids that are probably bored. And that might be why, because we have such a huge range of learning levels in the classroom. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
that was it.
I Anything else? I don't have anything else.
All right, very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stacy.
Is there any signups? There's no signups for public comment, but our three guests, if you'd like to make a public comment, now's your chance. Okay, I'm closing the public comment period. Action items or approval of the August 4 minutes. I'm gonna make a motion that we approve those. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed with the same sign. Motion carried. Are there any items arising?
No.
Superintendent's report.
Yeah, just talked about our upcoming activities. We have a welcome back celebration for all families, all grades at the high school next Tuesday, August 18th, 4:30 to 6:30. And then we do have our back to school rally for staff. You're certainly invited to attend that if you would like at 9 a.m. on Monday, August 24th. And then Tuesday, August 25th is first day of school. You're welcome to join us as we visit the schools. It's a really quick trip because we have half days for students, half days for family engagement. I did list at the time the new staff that we have there, and we do have two more staff members to add. One is Kelsey Smith, 7th grade English Language Arts at the middle school, and Carl Jordan is our current technical education Ag Ventures teacher at the junior high. So we'll probably have a couple more positions that we're still working to fill before the school year begins.
Okay, thank you. Any board reports, development?
No, but can I get a copy of whatever cell phone, I must have been gone
Sure.
during that, whatever cell phone policy that is?
Yes, and it's in the board packet from previous, so that I'll
But-
find it and I'll email it to
Or
you.
just tell me which one to go back and look
Sure,
at?
sure.
Okay. I just don't remember seeing any change, I guess I just need to review.
Sure.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, at this time, it is 7:37, and we are going to go into executive session for the performance of a public employee for, we'll set it at 45 minutes for now, where no action will be taken. Okay, executive session is still in session. We're gonna add 20 minutes to executive session. Okay, the executive meeting is adjourning at 8:43 and the regular board meeting is also adjourning at 8:43.